Hello, welcome to your news at noon for Monday, December 28th. I am Kevin Smith. These are the top stories we're tracking. Trinidad and Tobago expert says getting local content right won't be enough to prevent failure with oil. Guyana must strive for effective oversight framework. Auditor General says $4 billion withdrawals from contingency fund failed to meet FMA Act criteria. Meanwhile, Cuba national hammers woman to death and slits her child's throat and locks up sleeping father-in-law in house. And the AG report says $203 million in furniture and equipment missing from Public Security Ministry. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Child sexual abuse can stay with a person for life. It can rob them of their childhood. It's an unforgivable, unforgettable, despicable act. And yet, children suffer this abuse every day. During these times, we must keep a watch out for children. If you suspect child abuse, report it to the police without delay or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979. Protect children now.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Digicel Prime Bundles just got better with 3 new apps. Watch more with PlayGlow. Share more with Sportsmax. Read more news with Loop. Listen more with D-Music. Plus extra data. It's simply more bundled together. 51 gigabytes for 7 days for only $2,000. Live the experience with Digicel. Activate today on the My Digicel app.
And now for the news in detail. Even though it is crucial for the governments of oil-producing states to ensure maximum participation and capacity building of their citizens in the industry, that alone will not be enough to save the sector from failure. According to petroleum expert and energy strategist Anthony Paul, his home country, Trinidad and Tobago, knows this lesson all too well. Paul said that the country must have proper governance and oversight, or else it will all fail with value lost every day. Further to this, Paul sought to stress that at the heart of Trinidad's struggle today is the lack of accountability of the regulator of the sector. Meanwhile, withdrawals from Guyana's contingencies fund for 2019 amounted to $4.150 billion, but according to the Auditor General, these did not meet the criteria set out in Section 413 of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act. The AG explained that Section 2201 of the Constitution explicitly states Parliament may make provision for the establishment of a contingencies fund and for authorizing the minister responsible for finance to make advances from that fund if he is satisfied that there is an urgent need for expenditure for which no other provision exists. The minister at the time was Winston Jordan. And now let's tell you, cops have begun a manhunt for a Cuban national who allegedly hammered his girlfriend to death and slit her child's throat before locking up her sleeping father in the house. Currently on the run from police is Joel Rodriguez Barrientos of Orundu de la Provincia, Santiago, Cuba. Barrientos is accused of murdering a 34-year-old salesgirl, Tara Krishnaran, and her 11-year-old daughter, Larissa Singh, at their home located at Princess Street Lodge. Detectives believe that Barrientos might have slain both of them sometime after 20 hours on Christmas night. Their bloodied corpses were discovered around 9 hours the following day by his father-in-law, 67-year-old Yamona Krishnaran, who had woken up and found himself locked in the house. In other news, details from the recently laid Auditor General report show that some $203 million in equipment and furniture are missing from several government agencies under the Ministry of Public Security. According to the report, the sum of $657.7 million was budgeted for the procurement of office furniture, equipment, agricultural tools, communication, and other equipment for the ministry's policy development and administration, Guyana Police Force, Prison Services, and Guyana Fire Service, along with KANU and the Police Complaints Authority. It's now 12 hours 7. Coming up after the break, mechanic murders man over $700. African Center for Energy Policy says some tax waivers increase burden on regulator to ensure compliance. Former President David Granger collects COVID-19 cash grants and Lord's initiative. Meanwhile, drunken cop hits down pedestrian. Do stay tuned.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A 29-year-old Better Hope East Coast Demerara man and father of two was allegedly murdered by an angry mechanic yesterday morning on Durban Street, Georgetown, after he was short $700 on a repair job. The dead man was identified as David Barclay, better known as Justin Blake. It is understood that the mechanic requested $4,000 for the work done, but Barclay was $700 short, which led to an argument starting between the two men. The mechanic then became enraged and allegedly got into his vehicle, sped off, slamming into Barclay, dragging him a few feet along the road. An investigation has been launched and the mechanic is being searched for. However, his identity has not yet been revealed. And now let's tell you tax exemptions are useful tools to stimulate investment. However, in the absence of proper planning, a country could suffer disadvantages such as the increased burden which the tax collector and regulator must take on in order to ensure there is compliance with tax obligations. As a result of this finding, the African Center for Energy Policy advises that any decision on exemptions should be informed by scientific analysis with measurable outcomes and timelines, ensuring the regulator's burden is kept to a minimum. And moving on, Former President David Granger recently received his $25,000 cash grant, lauding the COVID-19 economic relief measure put in place by successor President Irfaan Ali. The former president said that he wishes many public servants did not lose their jobs, as has happened lately when the Irfaan Ali administration took office. He said that he knows that quite a few of the fired public servants were mothers and that they have had a very difficult year. Nevertheless, he said the initiative is a good development as the country has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting emergency guidelines which the government was forced to impose. And moving on, a pedestrian was struck down on Christmas Day by a drunk cop who was riding a police ATV along the Denamstel Public Road, West Coast, Demerara. 45-year-old Sean Peters of Backstreet, Denamstel, was struck down around 17 hours, and Peters sustained injuries to his leg and had to be rushed in an ambulance to Lenora Cottage Hospital. He was treated by an on-duty doctor and later sent away. Detectives performed a breathalyzer test on the constable and it showed that he had 15 micrograms alcohol in his blood content. An investigation has since been launched into the incident. With the time moving on to 12 hours 11, time for your COVID-19 update. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 81.2 million, with deaths at 1.7 million and recovery cases at 57.4 million. The Ministry of Health yesterday reported 2 more COVID-19 fatalities, pushing the national death toll to 164. Those deceased are a 53-year-old male and a 74-year-old female, both from Region 5. They also reported 4 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, which, according to the daily dashboard update, increases the number of confirmed cases to 6,293. The dashboard states that 5,680 persons have recovered from the virus and 37,451 persons have been tested for the virus countrywide. And coming from CNN, President Trump signed the massive $2.3 trillion coronavirus relief and the government funding bill into law Sunday night, extending billions of dollars in aid to millions of Americans. Meanwhile, the EU has launched a mass vaccination program across its 27 member states, and dozens of countries have banned travel from the UK to contain a new COVID-19 variant, first reported in England. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.